No, we believe that individuals should not always be held responsible for lying. Lying is not black or white. In fact, reasons behind lying may to some extent justify lying.
There are three agents: society, the individual, and the giver of the benefit. And the crux of our question is here. When lying about personal information for benefits, exactly how accountable are you for this?
The individual should only be held fully responsible when they move from a position of neutrality to one of non-essential privilege. When they move from a position of disadvantage to neutrality, it is more complex.
There are three types of responsibility: moral, role, and causal.
An individual's reason for lying, as well as their ability to gauge the consequences of their lie, determines their responsibility, and as such, we present three general reasons to be examined.
Societal pressure, bypassing a protective regulation, and selfishness.
First, the external, societal pressure. Societal pressure can indirectly compel individuals to provide untruthful personal information when the individual themselves are situated in a biased system. Certain biases exist in society, meaning some lives are skewed. Therefore, they have little choice but to lie in order to have some equality, unless they wish to simply tolerate a restricted existence. An example is in China, where there is discrimination against unmarried women in the labour market. Unmarried women, especially those in their late 20s or early 30s, are disadvantaged because employers think that these women will soon marry, have children, thus working less and costing them more as they may take maternity leave. As a result, they're viewed as less. Here, the lying individual can be held morally responsible as they have the control and knowledge to not lie, and the role responsibility lies with the employer as they have the responsibility to check for fraud and so are responsible for making sure the information provided is accurate. But overall, we believe that societal bias has a greater indirect causal responsibility by pressuring the individual to make the choice to lie, as they feel that this piece of what should be irrelevant information can make or break their chances.
We would argue that the lying individual can only be held as primarily responsible in cases where the lies are purely for excessive personal gain. We define excessive as a lie using deceit to move from a position of neutrality to one of non-essential privilege. A useful example here would be a well-off individual failing at university solely because they actively choose not to do the work. Failing university would tarnish their own reputation. Hence, they choose to lie and feign learning disability in order to get accommodations on exams need. Taking advantage of something you do not need, fully aware that this action is at the detriment of other people who actually need it, solely to be on equal footing with people like you, can be blamed on nothing other than your own selfish character. Thus, we would say that the liar should be held responsible, as has been agreed time and time again in ideas such as Hobbes' social contract, that this kind of antisocial behaviour is ultimately not beneficial to society and should be punished. Moral responsibility and causal responsibility are obviously attributed to the lying individual themselves, while role responsibility lies with whoever agreed to help them feign such an illness, i.e. by bribing a doctor.
Another case in which one might lie about personal information would be to bypass a regulation designed to protect certain individuals due to something personal like age. Here the responsibility falls on the person providing the service, whose duty it is to enforce the regulation to the best of their ability. With the example of a child trying to buy alcohol, if there's suspicion that they're below legal drinking age, the shopkeeper should be held responsible for their well-being, i.e. asking to see their ID. Then, if the ID shown seems dubious or fake, they stay responsible and should refuse the sale. Role responsibility takes precedence. Hiring someone at a shop that sells alcohol, one entrusts that individual to use the full extent of their reason to prevent children from unknowingly harming themselves through lying for what they think is a benefit. The child should not be held responsible for trying, for the regulation is based on the premise that children can't be expected to accurately assess what's in their own best interests. The shopkeeper has both control and knowledge of the situation. Their decision to sell or not is final, and their position requires them to know the rule.
Contrary to popular belief, the individual is not always held responsible when lying. Though it is immoral, we have seen in the cases above that shows responsibility is a complex matter.
Determining responsibility is a case-to-case job as such. To say the individual is always accountable when lying about their personal information is completely naive and untrue.